money. So the community health centers that Senator Warner was talking about are up in the air as to what they can do. Do you believe that a president can impound money that has been appropriated by Congress?
Senator, let me answer the question about Medicare first. I have never defended that program or the rapacious behavior by insurance companies or the PBMs. I understand that's a huge problem. And
All right, I don't have time. We've got to get over to vote. So we can do this.
But you've asked me 5 questions. You got to give me a chance to answer one of them.
Please be brief.
Yeah, I brought in, if I get confirmed, I've already appointed a general counsel. It's the first time in history, he's a former prosecutor who prosecuted the biggest Medicare fraud in the case in the state of West Virginia. I brought in a prosecutor for that job instead of a bureaucrat, precisely to address the important issues that you raised here. The only reason I didn't talk about these before is because I wasn't asked about them.
What about-
I agree with you 100%.
All right, what about impounding, a president impounding money that, among other things, goes to healthcare?
And you're saying that that's illegal?
That's correct.
Well, my job is to uphold the Constitution. I'm going to take an oath to uphold the Constitution, and I will administer the law and uphold the Constitution.
Mr. Chairman, I believe under what we've discussed, I control 5 minutes. I'm going to take one and give one to each of my 4 colleagues that remain.
All right, and I would just say this vote, they're going to call it in about 8 minutes.
Thank you.
So we have very little time.
Two hours ago, colleagues, I asked Mr. Kennedy to reconcile his many anti-vaccine statements with his handful of pro-vaccine
He's told
statements.
you.
Instead, he gave us a word salad
Oh,
and
come
ducked
on.
the issue.
You're
The same
wrong.
was true, Mr. Kennedy, with respect to measles, where you wrote a book playing
Go
down the
back to
threat
Oregon.
of measles, even though American families are very concerned about it. And apparently families are still mourning
Families are
in Samoa.
concerned. They have to listen
My
to
last
you.
point would be that Mr. Kennedy said today really wasn't about him. And I just want to tell him it is all about you, because I find your
Everything is about
presentation
you.
to be both untrustworthy and unprepared, because my colleagues have been seeing back and forth between Medicare and Medicaid, and it's not clear which program you're using when. So I want colleagues
back
to
to
know
work.
there is a lot more information to learn about Mr. Kennedy before we vote. I'm going to urge that to my colleagues on both sides of
Urge
the
all you
aisle to
want.
not make decisions on the basis of this session. I thank you for the additional time. And I guess my next minute is Senator Whitehouse, Senator Warren, and Senator Smith.
And again, 1 minute
There's-
each, please.
Senator Warnock,
There's been a
excuse
lot
me.
of conversation about late-term abortions here, and I just want to make clear what Rhode Island OBGYN doctors describe as what is almost always happening when a late-term abortion is needed. It is a childbirth gone wrong.
Battery 70%.
The family has
Connected to
painted the
your
room,
iPhone.
it has bought the crib, maybe even decided on the baby's name, and has gone to the hospital to welcome the new baby into their family in what is supposed to be a happy event. And then things went wrong. Then the alarms started pinging. The lights started flashing. The medical
you got it.
professionals started
Got it.
rushing in.
You're not much
And
of
the
a
question
storyteller.
became, who lives and who dies?
You're dying.
The mom's life is often at risk, and she may have other children she needs to care for. The baby's life may be at risk, and one or both may die.
Yeah, right.
In that environment, the doctors and the family own that decision.
Yeah.
Government has no place
No.
in that room at that point.
Except when they're.
And I think we need to understand when this
vaccine.
late-term
They
abortion
have a
gets
place
bandied
now.
about, what you're dealing with is a tragedy that is happening to a family who wanted that child and have suddenly been confronted with a
In your
moment
example,
in which they have to make what is probably
you
going
go
to be
back
the
to
worst
Rhode Island?
decision of their lives. And to try to shove the state legislature into that
hypothetical.
room is
Totally
really
hypothetical.
offensive, really morally wrong. And I just want to make
You're
very
really
clear
morally wrong.
what Rhode Island OBGYNs tell me is the situation when these procedures have to be
All right, isn't your
deployed.
minute up?
Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So,
Oh,
Mr. Kennedy,
Lord.
I wanted to ask about
The preacher.
your role in the
The
2019 measles outbreak in Samoa.
Oh,
In
yeah.
July
You know
2018,
all
two
about it.
children died immediately after receiving a
native
measles
Samoan.
vaccine that nurses had mistakenly mixed with a muscle relaxant. The nurses get charged with manslaughter, but vaccination rates go down. I asked you about
You
this
know
in my
that
office.
Ted
You told
Kennedy
me
gave you
flatly
your start?
that your visit to Samoa had nothing to do with vaccinations. We now know that's not true. I have the documentation. You met with the prime minister. You talked about vaccinations. You met with an anti-vaccine influencer who described the meeting as, quote, profoundly monumental for this movement.
Thank you.
So
for
what
the
happens?
quote.
Vaccinations go down. There's a measles outbreak and children start dying. But you
And it's
doubled
Bob
down.
Kennedy's
You
fault.
didn't give up. Just 4 days after the prime minister declared a state of
Bob
emergency,
Kennedy's fault.
16 people already dead. You sent a letter to him promoting the idea that the children had died not from measles, but from, quote, defective vaccine. You launched the idea that a measles vaccine caused
Some vaccines
deaths.
are bad.
You are a very influential man. In fact, you are called the leader of the disinformation dozen.
Oh, your time's up.
UNICEF and WHO, the World Health Organization, investigated this. They say the claims are false. It is not biologically possible what you
You've made
claimed.
False
And
claims
yet,
in your life.
ultimately, more than 70 people died because they didn't get vaccines. So my question
Now, what
is,
is your question?
do you accept even a scintilla, just even a
I'm not a
sliver
fellow.
of
not a
responsibility for
No.
the drop in vaccinations and the subsequent
No.
deaths of more than 70
Fortunately,
people?
no.
Anything you do differently?
No, absolutely not. There were two incidents in which children died in 2015 and again in 2008. 2015, it was from the measles vaccine. That's what the New Zealand General Hospital found. The government of Samoa banned the measles vaccine after the 2018. I arrived in July of the next year after the ban had been
Mr.
in
Chairman?
place for a year.
I
Mr.
don't want to
Chairman,
hear the truth. Mr.
understanding
Chairman.
that you wanted to hold this to a minute and that I don't get to present all the facts and documentation I've got, how about if we just decide to make entries for the record on exactly what the record shows about Mr. Kennedy's participation? And I think he's answered the yes
Why
or
don't
no
you shut
question.
up?
He takes no responsibility.
Senator Warren, we
We'll
will do that.
differently.
And
Go ahead.
Mr. Kennedy, and to all the senators, every senator knows that following this hearing, they will be able to ask you questions off the record and you will be able to put answers back onto the record. So please give that answer. I apologize that we're shutting you off for giving a full response right now. Senator Smith, and
Thank
we
you.
are way over time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Kennedy, you have said that you want to give infectious diseases a break for about 8 years. You spoke about this with Senator Cantwell. My question to you has to do with avian flu. Over 100 million birds culled. The disease has spread to dairy cows, and there are now 67 confirmed human
And you
cases
have a
and one
new
death.
MNRA
So, Mr. Kennedy, do
vaccine
you intend to
ready?
give research on bird flu a
Tina?
break?
No, I intend to devote the appropriate resources to preventing pandemics. That's an essential part of my job.
What do you think is causing the avian influenza?
The Kennedy
I
family.
think the H5N1 virus is.
So that's good to hear, because in a recent book, I will submit this for the record because we don't have that much time. Mr. Kennedy has questioned the scientific basis for germs causing disease and the power of vaccines and
come on.
antibiotics.
I
Tina.
never questioned that, Senator.
Well, I will submit that for the record.
Tina, you can.
Thank you. Senator Warnock, 1 minute.
Get through.
I like the way you said that to the Baptist preacher. Thank you so much, Mr. Kennedy. Based on our conversations, it's my understanding that you support work requirements in Medicaid. In 2020, President Trump approved a proposal from Georgia state leaders requiring Georgians to jump through a number of onerous bureaucratic hoops
Yeah,
and
another
fill
guy
out
that
even more
didn't get a
paperwork
Senate seat.
to verify work
Honestly.
and get access to health care. I asked this as someone who represents a state that has not expanded Medicaid. Federal government, because of this waiver, spent $70 million on Georgia's Medicaid waiver. 82% of that went to administrative costs. The point that I'm making is that the folks that they're insisting
your
need
point?
to work, 90% of those folks are working.
Good.
They are caregivers,
That's a good point.
or they have a disability. Let me give you one example. A woman I think of all the time, her name is Heather. She's a traveling nurse from
Okay.
Dalton, Georgia, who falls into the Medicaid coverage gap. Heather experienced a series of small strokes, leaving her unable to work full-time.
Bob
She's
Kennedy.
dedicated her life to caring for patients, but now she can't afford her own medical care, out-of-pocket costs, because she doesn't make enough to qualify for tax credits to buy private insurance. What does Heather need? Does she need work requirements, or does she need access to health care so she can finally get healthy and get back to work?
The individual that you described would need health care and not a work requirement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we are done with
Thanks
the
for
questioning
stopping.
now, Mr. Kennedy. I apologize to you, to the audience, and to all of my colleagues to have to rush it here at the end, but we have a vote on the Senate floor that they're going to close in about 3 minutes.
Let's vote.
I want to thank you for appearing before this committee. You have been accessible to the members and staff on both sides of the aisle of the Finance Committee throughout a rigorous process. And I want the whole world to know that you spent hours in meetings answering questions outside of this hearing and providing documents and responses on issue after issue after issue. You've gone through the most thorough vetting process that any committee in this Congress puts anybody through. And I think that you have come through well and deserve to be confirmed.
Thank you,
I
Senator.
would like to remind my colleagues that the deadline for submitting any questions for the record is 5 p.m. today, 5 p.m. today. And Mr. Kennedy, we ask that you respond to those questions as quickly as you possibly can. With that, I'm going to leave you in this room and run over to vote. This hearing will be adjourned. I still encourage the audience to be polite and respectful, no matter what side of the issues you may be on. And Mr. Kennedy, I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We're adjourned.
Caroline could never get this kind of a. That's what annoyed her. She's rich, but she can't take this attention. Really rich. Yeah. Yes. 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 My brother saw suffering and he tried to end it. He saw discrimination. He tried to stop it. Yes. All right. Giuseppe, I should find it, but I probably wouldn't play it because I'm nervous. I played C-SPAN. As far as I know, C-SPAN is public airwaves. There was a young doctor, a woman. I think she was a doctor. She was certainly a well-educated researcher. So she took a sugar monitor. I guess you'd puncture your finger and take blood. But anyway, she went to Italy and ate all the pastas, all the pizzas, all the spaghettis, all the lasagnas. And she did it here in the States. Never once in Italy did her blood sugar spike. Every time here in the States, her blood sugar spiked it. It spiked. Why the hell? Oh, let's talk about this. Pending news for KNW. January 21, they launched No Labs Technology Licensing. Now, Mark, let's just go up here and I don't know. We'll just see if we can find some things for your perusal. Of course, for some reason, you're like a addict that needs to go back for more, or that maybe that's unfair. Maybe you're a retiring boxer who needs to go back for another fight. All right, this is KNW. Let's go out the maximum I can get, 5 years. Okay, now you think this is a good stock to invest in, and you're actually waiting for news. My gosh, there's going to be news in KNW, and it's going to dramatically change my investment. What do you see here? Let's remember this. I think a kiss is just a kiss. July 23 is one area, or let's look at this one, July 24. Let's look at both of those time frames. But this is your No Labs, and this is the stock you want to find out what the news is, as if the news is going to matter. Okay, let's take it. The stock trades at 9 cents, and according to this, over the last 5 years was $5. Okay, there's a trade here. So let's go look at No Labs secures $12 million funding February of 24. Let's take a look. And on the NASDAQ, let's go to Adina Friedman's website. Adina Friedman's firm announces, NASDAQ announces, No Labs secures a $12 million funding for further execution on clinical research and development initiatives. Oh my gosh, let's look at this. There's got to be news that's going to make this successful. So February 29, a year ago, No Labs, an emerging developer of non-invasive medical diagnostic technology, announced it received funding of up to 12 million, of which it is executed a $4 million close with Lynn Global Fund 2 Plus Bus Trust Fund LP. Managed by the Lynn Partners, New York-based institutional. Let's ignore the CEO because he's a complete and total dupe. Let's go to Philip Vallier, managing director. Lynn is terribly, terribly excited about its investment in No Labs. No Labs has demonstrated success across numerous development milestones and has built a strong intellectual property foundation to attract further investment and future strategic partnership. We, Lynn Partners, are pleased to invest in No Labs, to support No Labs in its growth, and we look forward to working with its high caliber management team as it moves forward into the next phase. Okay, so what is the funding? The funding provided to No Labs will come in the form of a convertible secured note. Oh, this one's going to work. This is going to be the one that works. it will carry an aggregate face amount of 14.4 million, but it's going to be sold in a price of up to 12 million. So Lynn Partners immediately takes off 2.4 million over time for their hard work. At the closing initially of 4 million face, No Labs received 3.68 million. Wow, that's got to be great. There's news. What is the news for No Labs? It's got to be wonderful. The face value of the convertible note in the initial closing will have a 24-month maturity date. 24-month maturity date. We're already halfway there. And it can be paid at the company's option in cash or through the issuance of share of the company's common stock equal to the principal amount being paid. Remember, the principal amount is higher than what they received, looks like by at least 10 or 15%. 20% even. Okay, so obviously they don't have cash, so the company has the option of paying cash, but where the hell are they going to get that cash from? So they're going to do stock. Let's look at what the stock deal is. All right, so issuance of share of the company's common stock equal to the principal amount being shared, divided by 90%, a 10% discount of the average of the 3 lowest daily value weighted average price during the entirety of 20 days prior to the applicable payment date. And this is just in here to confuse the CEO and you, obviously, that they'll convert maybe at a 50% premium. No also issued to Lynn Partners a warrant to purchase 3 million shares for 5 years at 80 cents. And they emphasize that that's a premium. Commencing 120 days after the funding, No Laboratories will repay 1/20th of the applicable face value, or $240 in monthly installments. Monthly installments, $240,000 for a year. At the company's options, they can do that as cash plus 5% penalty cash, or they can do common shares or some sort of combo. Repayment shares will be priced at a 10% discount of the average 3 lowest daily VWAPs during the 20 days trading prior to the issuance of the shares. For 2 of the monthly payments, Lynn Partners will have the right to increase a repayment to up to $750,000 in stock. The funding is secured by all of the assets of No Logic and No Labs and its subsidiary. It's been approved by the New York Stock Exchange and Benchmark Company. Benchmark acts as the exclusive financial advisor, screwing them right up the rear end. And it's interesting, they use spectroscopy. Maybe they should do a spectroscopy on their financing. So let me ask you, Mark, what the hell do you think the news is that's going to save shareholders from the absolute criminal actions by Philip Valier, Jeff Easton, John Hancock, Hai Lee Kim, Sam Chung, and their 4 hedge funds, in my opinion? What's going to save it? What news is going to give you a trade that they don't crush it by selling endless amount of stocks? 2 out of the months they can, Lynn Partners can ask for $750,000 back for that month. Do you, Mark, think any news is going to make this stock go up? Do you even recognize that that is a safety valve for the criminals? So if there is good news, they can say, hey, we want $750,000 this month in stock. By the way, we want it at 90% of the 3 lowest closing prices or volume weighted average days over 4 weeks, a whole month of trading. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to just sell stock we don't own. Adina Friedman doesn't care, and Wagner doesn't care. The SEC doesn't care. Robert Cook doesn't care. And obviously, you don't even understand it. So they keep doing it. They keep doing it. It's Jeff Easton, who is a criminal by the definition of the secretary, the press secretary. If you're doing criminal things, you are a criminal. But Jeff Easton counts on the lawyers and the regulators not to get him out of trouble. Therefore, what he's doing is right because he was born without sin, and anything he does is right. All right, you don't own it, but don't buy it. Please don't buy it. It's not going to trade up. I'm starting to think that we're never going to really have real success in any of these stocks, because the one thing that's true of any stock, from GME, AMC to Frank Benedetto's COSM, you better rush into it, to Lou's medical company, you better buy it at 0.00001, to MULN, to MMAT, to Root, to maybe these Chinese companies. Every single one of them has the same story. There's a huge short position. And they're going to have to cover it. And when they do, we're going to have a squeeze. Are you starting to think maybe that that dog don't hunt, as they say down in somewhere? Are you starting to think that maybe they have this criminal enterprise sussed? Are you starting to think that any news that makes a stock go up will bring in buyers, just like these criminals come on here and they'll distract you with a new stock? Hey, it's up 40%. You better get in. They want you to drive it up. So their cowardly partners can short it down, and they can make 500, 10,000 in between every single day, because there is no enforcement of the rules. None. And you think news is going to help? News is a sucker's ploy. Hey, soldier, look what I got under my skirt. Come upstairs. And the soldier goes up, knocked on the head, his wallet's gone. He wakes up and his ship has gone off, has left port. They don't care. And these CEOs are idiots. Why a CEO does any business with Benchmark, who are criminals, or at least part of the company is, and Jeff Easton, Philip Vallier, and their hedge funds, who are criminals. All of this is in my opinion, but there's the evidence, company after company after company after company after company. And yet you still ask, what's the news? If you already own one of these stocks and you're fortunate enough that a news story causes the stock to go up, get the hell out. But if you're not in it, don't buy it. They're going to get it back down. Now, that brings up the question of a company like NIXX. Are they going to bury it? I don't think so. But I think enough time has gone by that the price is cheaper, it could get cheaper, that it might make sense to have a little nibble at NIXX. I still am enthusiastic that they being the good guys, are going to make something happen. But the bad guys own the street. They cover the waterfront. They own it all. They own it all. From Stevie Cohen to Blankenfield to Fink to Griffin, they own it all. So anyway, I think Nixie still has a run in it, but it might be better to say risky Nixie. But I think it's worth a punt. Risk reward as the price comes down, it's worth a punt. I think next trip, NTRP, $6.44, next trip. It's all in their press, in their presentation, in their stories. But I think now that everyone's back to work, the transition from Kamala Harris and Samantha Powers to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance has occurred, that maybe you're going to start seeing the positive fruits of their efforts. My opinion on Next Trip, if you buy it, if you own it, it's potential. Anything that can be surprised, anything that's new, anything that has good news that isn't entered into a strangulation contract with the criminal firm of Lynn Partners and referred to by the criminal firm Benchmark. In my opinion, my judgment, it's opinion show. It has the potential for a squeeze. But I think Next Trip, if it doubled and you own it, maybe you wait for it to triple. But I anything from a double to a triple on that stock, I would get out. And if it goes to 40 or 50 or 60 in some sort of short squeeze, bravo. Just be glad it went because you were able to double your money. That's Next Trip. Finger Motion is down today, but I think Finger Motion did a deal with Jeff Easton and Benchmark, and you would argue, well, they bought it back, so it should be free and clear. It's like an avalanche. You're trying to put enough snow into the top of the snowpack to get the avalanche rolling. That's Benchmark's job. Introduce enough snow so that Jeff Easton can create some big snowmen or snow boulders on the lip of this snow cliff causing the avalanche. The fact that maybe those snowmen, as it started going, those snowmen melted and they're gone, doesn't change the fact that the avalanche occurred. Finger motion was slaughtered by Benchmark, Jeff Easton, and Jeff Easton's clients. Probably what I saw, probably at least 100 million shares. When Frank Benedetto, Lou Bravo, and Cosmo's CEO told you to get the hell out and go to Cosmo, which also destroyed you. I think finger motion is still Benchmark's destruction, Jeff Easton's criminality and introduction. He's just a front for some big hedge funds. Maybe Steve Cohen, maybe out of Toronto. You don't know. Philip Vallier speaks French. It's probably the Anston funds. So, but having said that, I think Finger probably goes to 150. It's not much of a move. And there's a gap up to 210, 180 to 210. So maybe it goes that far. But they already knocked that stock down. And if it were in a TV commercial, it'd be hitting the button saying, help me, I can't get up. It can't get up because it doesn't take that much to re-enter pressure on they don't need the convertible note anymore. There's just such a major position. They've probably moved a lot of it offshore. Remember Ann Wagner? She doesn't think you should look because it's a privacy issue. But every time you dial your phone and say Allahu Akbar, they record it. Every one of you, if you say that, they have it recorded. God is good. So then which one would you do? DJT looks strong. Wolf, I don't know. Wolf, the issue is, are we going to need all that energy? I hope not. That would save the climate, as far as I'm concerned. GDC, ZJYL, I think those are still in play, but they're risky. My favorite is Railtown. It's cheap right now. It's 30 cents. Could it be cheaper? Yes, it could be cheaper. The symbol is RLAIF. 30 cents. For all the reasons that the world went crazy about DeepSeek, I think for all those reasons, maybe. I'm not saying I'm an expert on technology, but I think for those reasons, Railtown actually benefits because Railtown has a product for the end user which uses artificial intelligence. So anything that makes the components of their product cheaper and more efficient, I think it's actually a boon to Railtown. So Railtown's 30 cents. Why do I like it? And I know it's hard, Mark, to get this across, but Railtown, and I'm not picking on you. It's just, I've just noticed it's hard to get across to anybody. Number one, everyone has the bias that Adina Friedman really does care. She doesn't care. They have the bias that the SEC is there to protect you. That's false. This is all a way of taking your money so that it can goose the returns of the prime brokers and Stevie Cohen's firm, arm's length, of course. But Railtown has gone from 4.5 years of R&D and it's entered I don't have a green one, but it's entered I don't know what number to use. I'm just making it up. But Railtown probably has a short position, but it's not a short story. It's a value creation story. And in software, which and in oil and gas and mining and probably if they ever let it happen in healthcare too, you have a long period of R&D, and then all of a sudden you have a product that in this case is in high demand, apparently, according to all the blurbs we've read. It is participating in high growth software development spaces, investment spaces. And so you were in our R&D for 4 years and you got to 30 cents, which is where it is today. You're now in this value creation phase, which is like a rocket ship or a hockey stick or an S-curve, as the value becomes clear to money managers, investors, venture capitalists, investment bankers, other companies. How big is this monetization? Well, I would argue anything that makes this a successful product launch for one company or two companies become the customer probably makes it an attractive product for 50 companies or 20 companies or 100 companies. I don't know. But the addressable market is in tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars for revenue. So we're here. We're here. How do we know we're here? They've attended conferences. They've put out press releases. They're marketing the company according to the information. And they did have a corporate presentation, which we went through. It's not there right now, which I take as a positive, not a negative. But we know they're at the point with Conductor where they're going to sell all this 4.5 years of AI work, which, as we've just learned, is powerful, self-learning, and it gives you rates of return that just knock out the competition. Well, that's where they are. They're here. So if they get one contract, does the stock just go up in valuation to here? If they get two contracts, does it just go up a little bit because no one believes it? Or because there's so many brains out there that understand this space, do they go, wait, they got 2 or 3 big contracts, customers, and this is the addressable market? This could be bloody well, huge. Now, I will admit to you that M&A activity might be on hold as people try to sort out DeepSeek. On the other hand, it might become more important to go acquire revenue to make sure that you're the leader. Don't know. We'll find out about that. But we're at the point where I think there's going to be announcements of contracts, clients. Why? Because they've gone to conventions. They put it out. They're marketing their company's product. Now, if I'm wrong and it takes a long time, then the 30-cent stage lasts longer. But my point to you is, as soon as one or two contracts come in that validate the product, I don't think this just hops up the hockey stick to the top of the sock. I think it goes to the knee, to the hip bone. It just runs up to where they have the wrapping around where the handle's held. That's my opinion. Could I be wrong? Sure. So does it go up 10x, 20x, 30x? I don't know. 10x is $3, right? 20x it's $6. 30x it's $9. Could it go 40 times to 12? Maybe. But that is a product. This, Mark, when there's news, it'll matter. News will matter. They don't have a toxic financing. Benchmark Capital didn't screw this CEO up. Jeff Easton didn't come in with his lying eyes and say, we're going to support you, and didn't get his 4 hedge funds to start shorting it. And Adina Friedman can go count how many women are on the board of companies at NASDAQ for all I care. This is a real story, in my opinion. Is it speculative? Sure, it's speculative. Sure. Sure it is. And could these guys win? They win all the time. They win all the time. But I don't think they're going to win here. Let me see if I can get a ham. No.
Battery 70%. Connected to Bill's iPhone.
I might get him.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
Call ended.
I didn't get him. Logic. Let's see the price. I don't have it here, so let me type it in. As you know, is there news? Let me look. No. As you know, Mario, the company announced, at least in 2 news announcements, that they intended to have 7 or 8 companies merge in to the shell with a valuation approaching $1 billion, over 750 million. I no longer think that's the case. They've only announced 2 of those. One was 10 million and the other was 100 million. So I don't know, but I would guess that they're getting close to finalizing those 2 deals, or at least one of them, because they announced them months ago. 2 months, 3 months ago. Also, the longer they wait, they need to keep their shell pristine in filings and et cetera. So my guess is they issued more stock in order to keep the shell attractive. Further, I think this company, whichever one it is, could be Branzino or whoever. I forget in the movie The Godfather when Marlon Brando says to Al Pacino, Branzino's going to move on you first, and you'll know. Anyway, I don't know if it's Branzino, but I think that whoever the company is doing this deal is working with the criminals. That's my opinion. Until you find out differently, that's what I'm worried about. However, let's just assume there's 1 billion shares outstanding. Let's assume the company's $100 million. Dollars, and let's assume we just get 10% of the company. They said we'd get 15. I think we're going to end up with 5, but let's go in the middle at 10%. I know you're saying, why can't I figure it out in my head? I know. So if you have 100 million in value and we own 10%, that means we own 10 million. And if there's 1 billion shares outstanding, I'm making that up, I don't know. That's a penny a share. That's what I think Brent has done to Logic. But we'll find out. We'll find out. If I'm wrong, that's my most negative assessment. If I'm wrong, maybe they have a really good story. They're not working with the criminals, and they're going to roll in those extra companies. But I don't think it's going to 50 cents anymore. I think it'd be lucky to go to 5 or 10 cents, maybe 20. But I think that's dreaming. So I could be surprised here. And the new CEO, whoever, I think they announced it, really cares, but I don't think so. I think Logic was destroyed by Aubrey Advisors and Shadron Financial. And Polar Hedge Fund. But remember, Adina Friedman doesn't care. The SEC doesn't care. Ann Wagner doesn't care. I don't even think the guy at the over-the-counter markets, Chuck E. Cheese, I don't think he cares. And you got a CEO who's overworked. He puts everything together. Somebody comes in and says, "Attaboy, you're doing a great job. We can do it this way." And it sounds good. But the CEO's not a liar. The CEO's an honest man. He's a man of integrity. But what he doesn't recognize is the Burroughs Park boys are all liars when it comes to your money. I'm sure they tell the truth amongst themselves. But when it comes to money outside of their circle, any of it is fair target. Why? I don't know why. I don't know why they have a right to do it. All right, so Not Legal Advice is doing GTII stream tonight. So everybody should tune into that and spend a lot of time on it. GTII, very similar to Logic. GTII is now into the legal system. It's a completely different set of rules. And the guy that can explain that to you, although he's a real estate attorney, he's not a securities attorney, but anybody that can explain it to you is Richard Hoffman, if anybody can. So I would listen. I would listen to him on that. But you're not going to get any money back from Logic. There may be a change. I didn't mean Logic, from GTII. You want to spend the time on it, spend the time on it. There may be a chance after the cram down, after the loving, where they say, hey, do you want to put in new money? I wouldn't, but will Finger come down? I don't recognize your name, so you're probably a shill to 98 cents. Yeah, it doesn't matter. If it does, I think there'll be buyers. I don't think Finger's going to go back down. If you look at their chart, but it could. I mean, look, guys, it's all probabilities. It's all shitty stocks. But here's the chart for Finger. This is Finger. And to me, what you're seeing, it's still taking its sweet time. All right. To me, what you're seeing, gosh. I don't know. I can't draw anymore. Anyway, you can see this green line I drew. If you extend it, the stock broke out and it went well beyond the 20-day moving average. And it now has pulled back to that. That it broke through, that becomes support. That's where it is. If anything, you're asking, could the stock go down to 98 cents? Let's see if I can get this again. All right. So this is finger motion. And somewhere in here, you could say here, you probably should go down to here. This is the trend line it broke out of. Beneath it is this trend line. Or this one. Doesn't much matter to me. The stock broke out. Now, is it possible that you and your buddies could short finger motion down to 120? Yeah. Could you get it back to this trend line? Yeah, you could. That's what you do, and you're good at it. You're very good at it because you just sell stock that doesn't exist. Yes, it's possible. But I think it's more likely that finger motion is now in support here, which is normal. You come back and you test support, and then you've got a gap that you guys created sort of from $2 down to here. I think the most likely thing is finger gets to 160, 150, 155, diddles around, and maybe it comes all the way up to around, give or take, $2. That's what I would expect. 160, 155, 150 is where I expect the stock to go. Good morning. I never saw that movie. Who's this? Bill Myko. So I do recognize your name. Any opinion on rumors NextBridge is planning on filing for bankruptcy? I didn't hear that. You're the one that's told me. Yeah, I can speculate, but it's purely speculation. So, Bill, you are the criminals. You have shorted 3 billion shares of Torchlight. I don't know, let's say 2 billion shares of MMAT, and you've shorted 2 billion shares of MMTLP. No one knows because Zan Wagner wants to protect that privacy. So what you do is you threaten employees of NextBridge, you threaten shareholders, you hire a team to go on to Twitter for bounty and for a reward to get everyone.
Call from NV.
Hello?
You okay?
Yeah, you're live. I called you twice.
Yeah, I was in the bathroom, excuse me, and I
I
washed
hope
my
you
hands.
washed your hands.
I washed them. I knew better. But so let me just start off by number one. We talked about yesterday buying DJT options. The stock was oversold, and you can play it buying those cheap options. I don't know the price of the stock now, but this morning pre-market it was 35. If people understood how to play the market, if you were long calls and you had the access, you could sell short against your call position so you can get out because the stock was 35 this morning. One gentleman I know who is a pretty big player, he sold 5,000 shares of stock at 35. He was long 100 calls at the 31s. So he basically sold those 31 calls, 5,000 of them, or 50 calls at 35. So he paid like 50 cents from yesterday at 31s. He wound up making $4 minus 50 cents, so $3.50, 5,000 times. So he still owns calls, and I think I last I checked, they were $2. He got 5 this morning for them. So that was equivalent of getting 5. And this is how you play the stock market in the real world. This is how it works. He bought it, he likes the stock, he sold it, now he buys the dip, and he's back in the game again, and he put money in his pocket. That's the real world. And how do you trade these things? Whether you're trading NVIDIA. William, I wanted to send you something yesterday. They said the dip yesterday in NVIDIA was bought by retail.
I thought I was dating the dip.
So my friend said to me, do you think that retail will win? I wrote, absolutely not. Today it's down 6 or 7. Retail can't support a $125 stock. It's impossible. So these big funds, the big funds won out. Retail just got sucked into buying it and, waiting for the rally. And
So do you think it goes lower now?
Well, we talked about it yesterday. I think you'll get these quick spikes up, but the trend is your friend and the trend is down. So if you're willing to buy NVIDIA now, I would tell you you're going to hold on to it for at least 2 years. And I would buy it if I'm buying 1,000 shares. I buy 250 at a time. if you paid 126, you could buy 250 at 120, 250 at 115, and 250 at 110 if it gets down that low. And this way you average in. This way you can feel comfortable with doing it. All right. If you do buy it at 120 and it runs to 128, sell 80% of it, hold on to 20%. If it pulls back, you can buy back the 80%. That's how you have to play it. Wake up and learn the stock market. Okay. Take advantage of the swings, and you'll be able to do a lot better than just sitting like the Statue of Liberty. Unfortunately, finger motion has not had the wild swings yet, because when they get volatility, that's what the shorts need, but they need the volatility to come to the downside, not the upside. And that's why you keep seeing the momentum is always push it down, push it down, push it down. They just want people to give up on what they're doing. It's the same pattern, and I'm sure people give up. It's part of life, and they steal your money. When you lose, you know who to blame for it. It's just the Lynn partners holding it down because they know when it folds, whoever's doing this is going to jail.
Do you know
It's
who
so-
introduced No Lab to Lynn Partners?
No, Benchmark.
There you go.
I said that a long time ago. Where is that stock? Did the news come out yet? There was supposed to be news.
Yeah,
Pending.
and I overreacted. Somebody asked me about it. I'm like, are you seriously looking for good news and no logic and no labs?
Yeah, they've been attacking it every day since, it went to 25 on that day, that bullshit 33 million shares that traded, and it's gone straight down. That was Lynn washing, making sure they made sales to get whatever money they can off the table. So they saw they got an algorithm buying the stock, and they stuck them with whatever their loss is going to be. That's what they did. Not even a question about it. GMGI, William, where is that stock at?
Let me look. Is that a gem? What's the name of it?
I don't know. GMGI.
I'm looking at it. GMGI. Golden Matrix. I didn't hear of that one before. 194 down 3 cents.
Right. So it's been trending down. I first heard about it. It's another Lynn deal. It's like 260, 270. It's been trending down every day. Making a new 52-week low last week at 186. So again, it's the same pattern as KNW. I put it up. There's a little more meat on the bone here. It's still got $2 to it. And, look for them to continue to attack that name. That's the next thing that I would see them doing. After this, KNW does the reverse, which I assume that's what's going to happen. And that's the Lynn game plan. Short it, reverse it, and repeat it again. That's what they do. And how the SEC allows these guys to do this offshore, and that guy in Australia to be up 220%. Every investor who gets money from Lynn is down 100%.
So what do you think would happen? KNW has news. What do you think goes with the stock price? And then what do you think happens in a week?
I think I don't know what the news is going to be, but I assume the news is going to be a reverse.
Bad.
Whatever it is, it's 8 cents. It's been drifting down every day, making a new low. Not because of me. I don't even know one person who owns it. This stock is controlled by Lynn Partners and Benchmark. That's who controls it. So these guys, they were looking to suck retail in, and I think I did a good job of helping people educate them about what's going on here. And hopefully
Well, that's why I overreacted this morning. I don't want anybody buying this stock on any news. I mean, it's stupid.
Yeah, these guys are just it's completely controlled. Once you sign that piece of paper, you might as well just get electrocuted. You're dead. That's what they do. They have the right. The paper gives them the right to convert it at the lowest possible level. They're using the market maker exemption from offshore to push it down, and that's all they're doing. It's 100% what they're doing. And now they're going to do it to GMGI, the next victim. And I put it up 1,000 times, William. The naked short business plan is they want to do is make the next flop. They make more money with a flop than they do with a hit. And there you go. And there's your next flop.
At $2, it'll be 9 cents.
Give it a little time. You'll see it keep drifting lower. They push it up every once in a while to try to show some strength.
Golden Matrix. Let's just see. Golden Matrix. I want to see what Philip Vallier says on this deal.
It's wonderful.
I want to see if he even does any due diligence on the companies. Golden Matrix receives $10 million investment from Lynn Partners.
Right. That's all they do.
And it comes from Adina Friedman's NASDAQ, a leading developer and licensor of online gaming platforms, announced it has closed a funding agreement for $10 million in gross proceeds with Lynn Global Asset Management 8 LLC, managed by the Lynn Partners, a New York-based criminal group. I said that.
Listen.
Brian Goodman says he's pleased to have done this. He's the CEO of Golden Matrix.
I'm gonna give you my opinion on this one. Okay.
Well, let me just tell you what Philip Vallier has said. Philip Vallier, managing director at the Lynn Partners, commented, quote, "We are delighted to announce our investment in Golden Matrix, which we believe is well positioned for growth and look forward to following its progress in the future." They all go
It
down.
sounds like that's on his tombstone.
That'll be, yeah, I look forward to being in heaven and examining its progress in the future.
Right. Just remarkable that they even have the balls to keep saying this stuff. You know,
They did it, the conversion price is at $4, so that's 130% above the stock price.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
That's the old scam, William.
But it's a $12 million principal amount. The company gets $10 million, so there's $2 million to the geniuses at Lynn Partners.
Right.
And
So
I
they
bet
gave
some
him-
of
so
it
they
goes
gave
to
him-
Benchmark.
So they gave $10 million to the company. The stock is down. They said the conversion price is 4. So they're down 50% already, right?
Yeah.
So their fund is down 50% on $10 million. They're out $5 million as of right now, more than that. And yet they're up 220%, and everyone else is wiped out.
So the law firm for Golden Matrix is LOEV, L-O-E-V law firm. The law firm for Lynn Partners, Morgan Lewis Bacchus.
So they're using the best firm in the world to try to hide their criminal activity. So William, many years ago, this was the scam with the small brokerage firms. They would all have names that sounded like Goldman Sachs or Bear or this or that. They wanted to have their name associated.
Like Geneva Roth Holdings?
Well, they try to use these weird names, and they used to have, all these guys used to have their offices in the big firms. Like I remember it was a firm, I can't remember the name. And I remember one of the brokers that I knew, and he used to say, "Yeah, come see us. We're in the Smith-Barney building." That's what they used to say. So the clients would think that they're going to, a real firm in the Smith-Barney building. And meanwhile, it was Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe was down the hall. They used all these little tricks to try to get people to believe they were doing the right thing. That's what they did. They used the names of, J. Goldman, not J. Goldman, whatever, J.G. Goldman, whatever the hell it was. And they would use those names like people think it's tied to Goldman Sachs. They used to have their offices in the fancy firms. And this is what the tricks they used to do. Now it's just moved on to Lynn Partners using this mumbo jumbo. William, that $4 conversion price is nonsense. That's there.
Of course, it's there so the lawyer can tell the client, "Oh, you're doing something good for your investor." And, of course not. There.
So they say it's 120% above the closing price. Well, now it's down 50% from the closing price. So these things just keep going. They're complete criminals.
The
I wish
company,
they-
Golden Matrix, is required to make monthly payments on the unpaid face value, which is 12 million, not 10 million, of the note in 20 equal monthly installments commencing once the registration statement comes. So where are they going to come up with what's 20 into 10 million? Is that
If they're paying them what, 200,000 a time?
500,000 a month? Where are they going
Right.
to come up with that? They're going to issue stock at a discount.
Well,
So
they
it's all
just-
self-fulfilling. And
So
the
they give
CEO
them
is such a
money.
dimwit, he doesn't see it. Philip Vallier must be on stoned because for 5 years he's been delighted to invest in these companies that all go down by
Right.
98%.
He can't pick a winner. He can't pick a winner in a one-horse race, as they say. That guy. Every stock that they do is basically worthless. Every time.
I think he
Yeah,
works with the Anson funds out of
I
Toronto.
think that company, GMGI, if you ask my opinion, they kind of knew K&W was doing their thing. I think personally, I don't think the K&W CEO had an idea he was walking into the Lions Den. I think the GMGI guy, I don't know them. I have no idea.
Well,
It's my gut.
Benchmark gives this patina of credibility. And
Well, that's what it is. Everyone, they get referred to Benchmark. Benchmark brings you to the murderers to rob you. That's what it is.
yeah,
And they all make money feeding off of you. That's it. There's nothing else to say. And that's the only reason I brought it up. That's the only reason I brought it up, is that people understand. Listen, we're trying to show you what they do. That's all.
so
They didn't-
Yorkville
they-
is an investment advisor for DJT. I thought Devin Nunes knew what he was doing.
I believe that he said that he would never take money down unless it was north of the short trigger price. And I told you that because we had someone reach out to him and let him know about those cannibals. We let them know. I don't know how they got in this door. I have no idea. But it was definitely, he was told about it.
Yeah.
That I know. That I can assure you he knew about.
Yeah.
Listen, Wall Street's a funny place. Someone could be in Devin's camp and saying, hey, I got these guys, you can get money, they'll give you 50 million tomorrow.
I've never had so much fun in my life.
And Devin sits there and says, okay, we got 50 million from these guys. You guys are ready to write a check? Boom, and they write the check. And that's how it works. That's it. There's nothing else to say.
They're just giving them their own money.
They give you your own money. Congratulations. There you go. Now, they tried to do that with finger motion, but we figured it out. The company knew about it. The company took money from my guys, my friends, offered the money back to them, and they didn't want to take the money back. They wanted nothing to do with it. I never saw anybody that didn't want to take money back with interest. And that's what they did. They fought. They fought finger motion not to take back the money.
Because they wanted them to convert stock, just like they're doing
That's-
with these.
That's
Poor
what they want.
fools.
Finger motion got rid of them. And since they got rid of them, finger motion acts worse. Worse.
My
Then if
opinion
they-
is because if you're right, they've got a couple of 100 million shares short. It's hard to recover from that.
You can't. This will wipe them off the place. This will wipe them off the planet. That's what's going to
All
happen.
right. All right.
They go into jail like the guy Bill Hong and Andrew Left and Hindenburg and all the rest of them, and Bernie Madoff and all the rest of that. Wherever they went to jail, that's where these guys are going. I only hope they wind up in Rikers. William, did anybody hear anything about that guy Atkins getting confirmed today?
Well, this gentleman wants to know who replaced Gary Gensler.
It's supposed to be Atkins, but he was supposed to be confirmed today. Someone said it yesterday to us on your call that they thought it was today.
Fed
I haven't heard
holds rates steady. Let me see if there's, would that make the news? I don't see it in the news headlines, but I'm not sure that would be top news. And they wouldn't, He's a Biden guy anyway, so the press isn't going to jump all over it.
Well, at this point, they have no choice. The guy has to get confirmed. Gensel left. There's no one here. If he tells them his policies that he's going to force naked shorts, what is Pocahontas and all these other idiots that are, what's that, Bernie Sanders, all these people, they don't want to protect the individuals, or that lady Wagner. Sooner or later, they have to stand up and protect people. Enough is enough already. These big institutions are just breaking down the United States stock market. They're not helping it. I'm sick and tired of them saying, oh, we're investing. We help support these companies. They're full of shit.
Trump's SEC pick likely to give Wall Street easier enforcement ride. How could you give an easier enforcement ride than Gary Gensler gave?
Right. Well, I don't know what his motive is or what he knows, but we know Devin Nunes has put out 10 to 12 press releases threatening the NASDAQ short sellers with fraud.
Paul Atkins voted against at least 10 enforcement actions punishing individuals and companies.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He defied his fellow Republican agency chairs.
Well, listen, whatever happens with DC, I really don't give a shit. We know how to do it by ourselves. I've been doing it by myself for 25 years. It'd be nice to get help from the government, which I believe we will. But if we don't, we know what to do. That's
Atkins made no secret of his mistrust of much of the SEC's process for probing and disciplining rule breakers. He argues that corporate fines unfairly penalize shareholders and that the SEC should focus on individual fraudsters.
Well, Jeff Easton's one. Phil Lavaliere and the two women that work for him, they all belong in jail. Like they said, when the guys rob the bank, everyone goes to jail.
They suggest Wall Street is set for a much easier ride after years of aggressive enforcement under Democratic Chair Gary Gensler,
who's right? Where are you reading this from?
Reuters, who levied over $20 billion in penalties. $20 billion in 5 years, 4 years? Come on, $20 billion. That's like paying their bar bill.
Oh, $20 billion. Who paid that? I never seen anybody paid. All I see is 2 million, 1 million, things like that.
Under Atkins, the SEC will likely focus on misconduct that causes direct investor losses, such as scams, rather than corporate malfeasance, where the harm is not always immediately obvious. I would look forward to getting this guy.
That's on Reuters, you said?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. His nomination should bring down the stress levels and heart rates for compliance staffers.
Oh, God. They've been sitting with bags on their head, not looking at anything, those guys.
He's got a consultancy called Potomac Global Partners. Perfect.
That's who wrote the story?
This is a beauty.
That's who wrote the story?
No, that's Atkins. I'll send it to you so you can see it.
Okay.
He's a real peach.
Anyway, so obviously you see the cha-cha and finger again. It's the same nonsense, cha-cha, 200, 200, 100. Just keep printing it, marking it down, printing it. When there's no bid, they drop the bid. It's the same thing. People, accumulation. We don't need to spike it to $2. They won't even let us spike it to $2. So we'll wait. If you want to get off the boat whenever you want to get off. There's no one's holding your hands here. No one's stopping you from doing it. If you're pissed off that you're losing money, you know why. We can't help but do it that way. But we're not going away. We're going to get them. The company's fundamentally sound. The company has money. The research report's on the way. The fundamentals are on the way. It's all here for us. So it's just a matter of when. And I just wanted to talk about that other stock I'm following, that GBUX. I just want people to understand there's a short seller in there, not a big one, but he must be getting in real trouble here because the last 2 days he's been selling like 5. Today he sold 7,000 shares at the market trying to knock it down. There are people that I know are standing there and they keep getting hit. Like it was 140, they push it down to as low as they can, selling it at the market. Now, I don't know about you, but anybody who sells stock, 7,000 shares at the market and lose 30 cents to lose $2,000 over nothing is pretty it's pretty wild that anybody would do that. Yesterday, they sold 5,000 at the market. This is a thin stock. And I'm not here to present a short squeeze or anything like that. This is a fundamental play that I've been following. But you can see when you catch an idiot in the middle of it, what they do. It's easy to see what they do. And that's what we follow. We follow these guys and you can see them do it. But it's in every name. Apple, NVIDIA, you name it, they do it to all of them. MLSS, I told you, I sold that the other day at 130. All right, I know there's some great news on it, but as you can see in Fraud Street, they don't reward anything. I don't even know what you have to do to win. Maybe just sell, like Carvana, sell a used car and your stock goes to $250. I got paid.
So DJT did a crypto deal with Charles Schwab. Is that a bad deal? I have no idea.
I have no idea. So how much money did they make on that transaction?
The guy doesn't say. I don't know.
Why not? Why wouldn't DJT put out some numbers and tell everybody what they made? Oh, because they don't usually do that. All right. So when people say that about finger motion all the time, how come they don't put any numbers out? Because public companies don't do it. When they start collecting and making money, they show up in their financials. People that are promoting all this money that they're making all the time, be careful of those names because you can obviously see big companies just don't come out and say, hey, we just did a deal and we made $8 billion. They don't do that until the money's earned and in the bank.
Right.
And it's just there's your answer.
So they're just trying to get you to.
Well, we all see it all the time. We see it all the time. But when Finger Motion makes an announcement they're doing something, everybody calls me up yelling, how come they don't say any numbers? Because they're just starting the business. They're not selling Apple computers that they spend $1,000 to build and they sell it for $3. These are different types of contracts, different companies. If they made a screwdriver for $1 and sold it for $5, and they sold 10 million of them, you would know what the hell the numbers are going to be. But this is different. They're getting contracts. They have to install it, and we'll see it in the financials. That's when you'll see it. If you want the hype stocks, go down the block. It's 2 to the left. Go look at K&W. Look how many times they tried to hype the stock, and it went straight down. And it's funny on Wall Street, public companies. You know what? It's pretty funny. We should all get a public company and just commit security fraud. Since Reuters said they're going to go easy on you, we might as well just start robbing people. Oh, we didn't mean to do that. The SEC is going to go easy on us now, so we can say whatever we want.
No Labs launches No Labs technology license. And how do you know there's news? Just because it's not trading?
It stopped trading. Someone texted me. I asked on Twitter, and I said, "What's the news?" And they said, "There's news pending." Well, the stock was 11. It broke 10, went to 8.5, and they shut it down. It was down 20%. So I would have to assume that someone got word what they were doing, right? Maybe it was the short sellers in Lynn trying to get as much as they can to get off because they know the reverse is coming. So if they sell 100 shares, 30 for one reverse or whatever it's going to be, that money's theirs overnight. It just goes away, right?
Yeah.
That's the way they were selling it looks like somebody knew something was going on, like a reverse, and trying to get as much bets as they can down on it before the news actually comes out.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me.
Fed pauses rate cuts. Reignites inflation fears. I guess you can't do anything right.
You can't do anything about it. Everything has been trapped and set up for failure. So this is what it looks like. What else we got, William?
Czech central bank boss wants to buy billions in Bitcoin. I bet he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but he's going to wait to let it come in first. They didn't tell you exactly when they're buying it, right?
So Steve wants you to post a certain time when your conference calls are going to be, I guess, on Twitter.
Well, yeah, listen, I try to do it, when I see some news or some activity, I usually throw it up as fast as I can because I want people to understand it. I want people to understand it as it happens.
Right.
I want people to say, okay, I'm not going to give these guys an edge. I'll throw it up at 10 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes William's got something to do, so I throw it up at 11 o'clock. I try to go based on what I see in the market. I try not to do it at the same time every day. We're trying to counteract the security fraud that we see daily. That's what I try to fight. So I don't know exactly when it's going to be. I have no idea, but I monitor things and we just keep going. That's how it goes. But we are advising companies. I got a big ticket. You told me Morgan Lewis Bacchus is their attorneys.
Of course. All the law firms work.
They steal $100 million and give them $5 million. Or
that's
$10
where the
million.
money is. Attorneys go where they're going to get paid.
And so the lawyers are sitting here making sure they keep them between the boundaries. Listen, when I went to Morgan Lewis through my friend who had a senior partner there, they couldn't believe that the stock settlement system didn't work. We had the senior partner, top guy, Harvard guy, brilliant. And you know what? We were a client of Morgan Lewis, and Morgan Lewis used Merrill Lynch, I believe, Janney Montgomery, Jeffries, I think at the time. They were all the clients of Morgan Lewis, and we were making all the noise in the other room. They were complaining, and they wanted to get us kicked out.
I wonder how many of their lawyers worked at the SEC before they joined.
They all do. I told you one guy worked at the SEC and told us about a white paper talking about what happens on corporate takeovers with the naked shorted shares, right?
Right.
The SEC squashed it. They had no idea what to do with it. And what came out of it? Dole Foods. There's your classic example. And what I'm explaining to you happened in 1999. Dole Foods came out in 2013 or 14, I forgot the year. So there's the example that the SEC had no idea how to handle, since there's so few corporate takeovers. They kind of just said, let it go by the wayside. And that's what happened.
And that got placed in the legal side, which money came to shareholders, but it wasn't a short squeeze. It never happened.
No, they shut it down.
Yeah.
The CEO, well, that the CEO was in control of the naked shorts at that point. He pushed the stock down and he bought the company $3 or $4 below he was going to buy.
Right.
Think about it. I don't know, it was 30, 40 million shares at $3. He saved $120 million by pushing the stock lower. Was it him who had the motive? Or was it his friend? I don't know. Someone sold 13 million shares of stock. No one ever figured out what happened. No one ever said a word about it. That just shows you that the system was so broken, they couldn't even follow those trades. How's that one? But if you buy 10 calls and the stock gets taken over tomorrow, they'll be knocking on your door. That's how our friends work. Where is finger motion right now? I'm outside.
It's on the NASDAQ.
So make sure I wash my hands. It's on the NASDAQ. You got all your lines.
I got all my same lines.
You're like Richard Hoffman. Richard Hoffman has his jokes, and you got your list of bad
It
jokes.
works for Letterman. Just say the same thing over and over again. Finger
That's
motion
true.
is 130 to 132, 99,975 shares.
Every
And
time we get momentum, they try to stop it so people don't buy it, and they all go to the sidelines. I told you, if you had that mentality, you never would have played DJT yesterday on buying the dip, even though it was ugly. All right, look how fast it turns. They don't want that to happen.
right,
Stop the upside momentum at all costs.
right.
That's what they do.
Trump seems to be much more interested in crypto than stock settlement. Well, you might be right, but you don't know. Can't read his mind.
All you have to do, okay, everybody on this call, okay, I don't care if it's 1, 200, 300 people, it doesn't make a difference. What happens is that just Google Devin Nunes naked short selling, and you watch all the whatchamacalls, all the reports about naked shorts. There's got to be 15 stories. We're going to go after. We're going to punish them. We're doing this. We're doing that. How's Devin Nunes going to get away from that? They have to address it. You guys think he's not going to address it? They're going to have to address it. He made statement after statement after statement about going after short sellers. Okay? He has to do something.
I don't personally know why he would disclose anything until Trump's team passes Congress, because Goldman Sachs will send in the lobbyists. So, everyone wants, we're in such an instant world.
Right.
Everything's instant.
Well, listen, I'm part of the instant world. I'm more instant than anybody on this phone call. My trading pattern was maybe ownership for 3 to 6 minutes tops.
That's like Rodney Dangerfield says, my wife. We have no sex life. Sometimes she has sex with me when she's doing something else. Yesterday, she used me for an egg timer.
I like the one about the cigarette. We both said we're not going to smoke. I'm still on the same pack. She's on pack.
Fulcrum, Frog Summit.
But again, I was the fastest. I was tied to the fastest players on the street. The fastest. Trust me, the fastest. You couldn't get any faster. But my team, when my people spoke, things were rocking, and we were trading fast, and that's what we did. So to me, to get involved in the stock and sit with it tells you that I strongly believe what we have. We've trapped these guys. It was based off a debt spiral convertible. It was taken care of, and you can see, and the only reason I talk about K&W and GMGI, so you understand what a debt spiral looks like. K&W, I don't know what the news is going to be, but someone's digging a hole to throw that company in it. And that's Lynn Partners. They got the most to lose. They put up millions of dollars between the two of them, and the company is trash. It's 8 cents. I'm sure the CEO, I'm sure the doctors that work there are all good people. They just got taken to the cleaners. GMGI, I got a feeling that those guys knew what they were doing and who they were dealing with. But how do you pay back all that money to grow your business when your growth capital has to be paid back?
Hey, Philip Vallier says we're excited, we're terribly pleased, and then we
Right.
want our money back every month.
Right.
I mean, doesn't the CEO know what they're signing? I think they should put CEOs in prison. That would stop this right away. And the idiots at the SEC would enforce that.
I think GMGI knew would have, because that came out after K&W. So I had that feeling that those guys
All right,
knew what they
so
were doing.
this is our daily push for people to invest in XRP. Get out of everything and go in XRP. Trump had dinner with XRP CEO, and he invited the CEO to the inauguration. That must mean XRP is going to go up.
So listen, go buy it. I don't know anything about it. Go, I can't comment on it because I know nothing about
Yeah,
it.
that's how I feel. I like XRP. Don't get me wrong, but
It's got a great symbol, XRP. I like the symbol.
it's a
I don't know
great
nothing
symbol.
about
It'd
it.
make a good car.
Listen, you're listening to a buffoon who never bought Bitcoin. I knew it was going up. I posted it on Twitter 2 years ago that my
Are you
friends who are the
calling me
biggest
a buffoon?
No, I am. My good friends, and you met them, are the biggest Bitcoin players in the world.
I know.
And they told me at 12,000, and that's when I got
could have
involved.
I bought anyway, it doesn't matter. I could have easily put 100 grand in Bitcoin under $1. I don't think I would have done that, but maybe I would have.
No, I'm talking about 12,
maybe-
when it was 12. I didn't know when it was down at $1. I didn't play because I heard.
I was in
knew
London
for-
and Max Kaiser was talking about it with his wife. She wasn't his wife then. I was an idiot, but anyway,
Listen, I just telling you that 12,000. These guys told me it's going to 100. It went up, pulled back, and they said it was going higher, and it's done exactly what they've done. The people I know probably made $3 billion on it. I met the largest holder Ethereum. I don't know what that has done, but it was worth $10 billion then. He's probably worth 20 now. I have no idea. And they were telling me to my face to put it away, and I just didn't do it. I got involved in naked short selling. I wanted to fight this battle, and I just focused on this. This is what I focus on. I'm the fool, but you know what? At the end of the day, when I do break these guys, I can leave this planet and know I did the right thing. That's what I feel like. Because for me, don't get me wrong, I like to make $10 million tomorrow. But again, how many steaks can I eat? How many cars, houses? It doesn't mean anything anymore. I don't care about it. I don't go to nightclubs drinking all night like I used to. I don't do that anymore. So I got a different life, and I want to save it for my kids. And I think that I'm trying to help everyone's families out here. I can't guarantee your profits. I can't do that. But I will tell you, I will get these guys exposed, and I'll get them arrested. That's what I'm doing. And that I promise that I'll continue to do. And that's what I'll do. So I've been doing it for 25 years. What's another couple of months? I told you before, I don't count on Trump doing anything to protect us. I don't know how he hasn't said anything yet. If he said something, it's over with in a millisecond. It's over with. In a millisecond. There'll be a bloodbath like you've never seen before. In a millisecond. I will tell you that finger motion, we're going to get our bloodbath. Okay? DJT, I know nothing about what they're doing. Zero about it. I know there's a big short. I know it's over 1 billion shares of stock. We know it. He knows it. Devin knows it. Everyone knows. Why aren't they standing up fighting it? I have no idea. Even the guy from Rumble knows. I've spoken to him. He knows. He's got Dan Bongino. He knows. I got a photo, me and Dan. I went and met him because the Secret Service sent me to see him. How are they all not doing anything? I have no idea. I've spoke to multiple the FBI people. What am I supposed to do? I spoke to the Secret Service. One of our great shareholders from down south put me on the phone with a very prominent the Secret Service guy. Gave him the whole story, sent it to his analyst, everything. I don't understand who's the naked short seller. Is it the Pope? Who knows who the hell it is? I have no idea at this point. Whoever the king is, he needs to get taken down. I'm sorry, William.
all right. I wasn't listening anyway.
Okay, no problem. Just walking.
I don't know what you were saying.
I say the same shit every day, and I'm going to continue to say the same thing. And when I get in front of my computer, I will piss on Trump. I will piss on the Reuters guy. I will piss on anybody who asks me to piss on.
So
Because
what's
I
the
know-
point of even investing in the market?
You're out of your bird if you invest in the stock market. You can trade. You better be good at it. You can trade, but I would never invest in anything that someone, for example, finger motion. You have the eyes of Texas watching this thing, as we say. We're all over this thing. Okay? I have 50 people that report back to me every day. Any shenanigans, any crosses, we watch them all. Okay? We're all over it. No other stock does anyone tell me anything about it. I hear the people in GameStop, Ryan Cohen this, Ryan Cohen that, what's his name, Roaring Kitty this, Roaring Kitty that. They're jerking you off. They don't do anything. Every day Ryan Cohen wakes up, he's got $1 billion in the bank and he don't give a flying fuck about you. Roaring Kitty's a fucking idiot. You know? You know, that's how it goes.
This guy is going to buy Finger when it goes to 70 cents. And
Yeah.
that's a
Tell
good plan.
tell-
My guess is if it goes to 70 cents, you're not buying.
Listen, tell that guy if he has a pair of balls, put your name up. And you know what? Let's see what happens.
He doesn't have
Because
a
when
real
it doesn't
name.
go to 70 cents, we can take our wiffle ball bats and beat you and give you a fucking 500 welts for being a stupid scumbag. Get out of here with that 70 cents. What is it, Jeff Easton plant? Get out of here. 70 cents. If you want to sit there, why don't you just be a real man and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to buy the dip when it seems the right time. That's a legitimate thing to say. When you say things like that, you're basically trying to say the stock is going to break everything. It ain't going to break, you idiot. The company just got $5 million at $1.50. So take your head out of your ass. Go back to fucking 13th Avenue and get the fuck out of here. Scumbags. I'm going to buy it then. Yeah, right.
What's your handle
Listen,
on
let
Twitter?
me just tell you this. I've been doing this a long time. And jerk off like this are a dime a dozen. I could say that shit all day long. All right? But I don't say it. You could sit there and say it about any stock. KNW, I'm going to buy it at a penny. GMGI, I'm going to buy it at 2 cents. Do you want me to post that every day or sound like those idiots? I don't do that. I'm just trying to tell you that Jeff Easton and those characters. Who? Who? Hold on a second. William, I just met a shareholder in the street. I'll call you back.
All right.
Call ended.
Let me go back to the gentleman who asked about MMTOP. Let me see if I can find the question. So Mario, on Logic, I think news will come out soon. I heard that it's going to be decent, but call me skeptical, that's all. And I love Gronk. There's Gronk right there. Let me see if I can find this. There it is. So that's Bill. Bill. What I think, and I was going through my long setup. I'll ignore that setup. Basically, I think the criminals are trapped in MMTLP. They're trapped in Nextbridge, and they're pulling out all the stops, including threats of bodily harm and worse. And I believe they're committing tortious interference with the Oro Grande lease. So one reason to declare bankruptcy is put a stop on all that. And I'm not a lawyer, but you put out your claims, you put out your, I don't know, Liz Pendens, whatever the hell it's all called, and you stop everything in its tracks. Now, it doesn't stop it forever, but it could stop it for 2 or 3 years. That's one reason, to stop the theft of the asset by hardened criminals. The second thing that could be happening is the company I'm trying to think which creditor, which investor would demand payment such that because that's the other reason to go into bankruptcy. It's when somebody is trying to take your assets and they're trying to put their claim, maybe legitimately, ahead of everyone else. And as a company, you stop that by declaring bankruptcy. So those are, in my opinion, if those are two spins on the same side of the coin, I guess, which is declaring bankruptcy is defensive or offensive, but it's a way of preventing the criminals from eviscerating the company. What would be another reason for the company to go bankrupt? I can't think of another one. Luckily, Bill Michaud, at least to date, the company doesn't legitimately trade. So the stock, imagine if that rumor was out there right now and the stock traded on blockchain. Doesn't matter that you track it. The criminals get that rumor out, it would go down. They have every trick in the book. It shouldn't trade. He has to stay private. He should not listen to Johnny Tobacco. Should not listen to Johnny Tobacco. I don't know, Johnny. I'm not saying anything bad about him. So anyway, Bill, that's my speculation. I haven't heard the rumors. I know that bankruptcy is just what the criminals want. They love bankruptcy because then they can close out their positions, take their money from their prime brokers, and just leave it with the bankruptcy court. There's no closing transaction. There's no taxes paid. And the money all funnels to a group of guys offshore. So I don't think it's going to happen, but I'll try to find out. You still talk about stocks and then complaining about criminals? I wouldn't say I'm complaining about the criminals. I'm telling you what I see. I do talk about stocks because that's what we do here. I talk about silver. That's not a stock. And I try to get people thinking about bigger issues than stocks. But Bob, yeah, I am still talking about stocks, and I do speak about the criminal actions. Nobody else is. But anyway, thanks for your comment, Bob. Very useful one, and I appreciate it. Yeah, it's all right. It's hard to type perfectly, and it's hard for me to speak perfectly. MMTLP is officially evidence in a RICO case. Bankruptcy is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That could be. In fact, it's out of their playbook. It's out of the criminal's playbook. When you get into bankruptcy, and it may not apply as much so in receivership, but when you get a company into bankruptcy and you have high-powered attorneys, everything about the situation can be changed by the judge. Bankruptcy is like a whole different universe of physics. You go in with a certain set of laws of physics from the financial markets and from your understanding. You go into bankruptcy court, and all of a sudden, the galaxies 13.5 billion light years from here are not miniature, they're full blown, and it looks like the Big Bang Theory doesn't work, doesn't explain it, or at least it doesn't work all by its own sum. Is there something Ham can't share with us, potential good news? Yeah, Ham told me some information which is material information, and therefore I shouldn't trade on it. I shouldn't tell anybody about it. Material information is any information which, if an investor knew that information, it would affect her decision to buy, hold, or sell the stock. So material information, the company has to tell everyone. It's called full disclosure, Reg FD. But yeah, so Ham told me stuff that is super secret that only he heard of from the company. And he can't tell you, but I can. No, I don't know what company you're talking about. I know Ham is very optimistic for Finger Motion's Roth report. He thinks it's going to come out with a strong buy and a pretty dramatic price target. I don't think so. I think Roth Capital will come out with essentially a market neutral or, move in line with the company. I think it might be positive, but I don't think it's going to be pounding in the table buy. That's just my opinion. I think they're going to be conservative out of the block. And I think their target could be $1.50 or $1.55 or $1.60, maybe $2. But Ham doesn't know what the report's going to say. I don't know either. Could there be further news on the contract? Sure. But I think we got that news. I think we got what news they could be out there. Could there be... I don't know. No, I don't think Ham has any news. I don't think my dog ever did that, but maybe. All right, so I guess Ham is gone. We can check some prices. Finger Motion is at $1.30. Everything is down. Let's check NVIDIA, which I'm going to guess is down. But let's see. Yeah, it's down 7. What happens with these sell-offs when there's a panic? You usually get a rally, but it's rarely that quick that it turns around. When I look at the chart on NVIDIA for all time, that looks like a short squeeze stock. In other words, it's going to come down. But if you look, 1 year, it looks much, well, I don't know about better right now, but it doesn't look as frightening. Yeah, the word on GTII They found a whale who's going to put up all the money to fund a new company. The company coming in is run by Catholic Charities. And so the whale and the company coming in to the GTII shell, they've decided to give to you 75% of the upside, and they're only going to keep 25% of the value they bring of the total company. So the capital they bring, the company they bring, they're only asking for 25%. And on top of that, the company is going to go through receivership, and the receiver is going to allow the failure to deliver to remain. And as soon as it's out of receivership, the regulators are going to force covering of the short position. That's what's going on with GTII. If you believe that, I'm an exceptionally good liar. GTII, Gary, is worthless. It's worth less than you paid for it, but it is also worth less. Worth less. And the more time you spend on it, the more your brain is distracted. GTII at this moment is a complete nothing. And I'm not going to go through it with you. Just sit down with a yellow pad, start it, pick a number. You pick it. I won't pick it. You pick it. 300 million shares outstanding. You answer the question, will Reichman give up his assets freely? Well, he's going to go to jail. All right, maybe he will. Then you ask the question, will the guy, the derivatives guy from Chicago, stop fighting on behalf of the shorts? Well, he was incentivized to make the company work. He doesn't work with the shorts. Okay. All right. Okay. I guess the receiver, it's going to go hunky-dory. They're going to get the stock outstanding down to 250 million shares, and there's going to be millions of dollars in cash to get started with. And the company that's going to roll in and the whale are not going to cram you down, because they're charitable. They're going to bring in millions and millions, if not tens of millions of dollars of value without cramming you down. It is just going to be the greatest thing. Spend a lot of time on GTII, because the reward for your time spent is going to be magnificent. Magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. You ever get one of those cards in the mail? Rothstein, Bernstein, and Chameau PLLC just won a class action suit against Verizon. If you made phone calls between midnight on January 15th, 2017 and 6 a.m. on August 2nd of the same year, you are entitled to receive 50 cents. The class action lawsuit filed by Schamil, Bronstein, and Rothstein PLLC was successful against Verizon. We won a court, we settled in court for $10 million. And as the attorneys, we get our costs back. So that's $2.5 million, including our fees. And then we get 40% of the settlement before fees. That's $4 million. And so what's left, you get 50 cents. It's a great victory. And we nailed the CEO Reichman of Verizon, and we won. And gosh, it was great. Thanks for spending so much time on it. That's what you're going to get. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you get 10 cents a share, and you're glad that you bring it up every bloody single day. I hope so. I own shares. But I really think your time is better spent. Let's say Richard Hoffman and the guys get the receiver that quickly, and Reichman doesn't object. Rhubarb doesn't object. Alpine doesn't object. Hurry doesn't object. There's no objections. And it goes through. And let's say it all happens lickety-split. And April 1, you have money. I mean, you have your company. And then the whales put up money, and the company coming in, oh, it's a brilliant company, comes in, and they cram you down. So you have 5% collectively with me. I own shares. We have 5% of Newco. And you're going to ask, what's the news? What's the news? Well, the news is, they issued 6 billion shares, 5.7 billion shares, and they're doing a reverse split, and it got through the receiver, and we're going to make money. Yay! I don't know. I don't know if you're delusional or if I'm delusional, but GTII is just a waste of your time. Now, if it goes through that, and let's say the whales put up money, the company comes in, you might get a chance to invest more money. But why would this be the best thing?
William,
Yeah, you're live.
I was walking down the street on the conference call, and the guy yells across the parking lot, Ham? I says, what? He heard my voice and knew who I was.
And he pulled out
I'm just laughing.
his
Put me on the phone with
machete.
his buddy. And anyway, listen, I have to run. I just wanted to tell you what happened to me, all right?
Well, that was great. Nothing else? All right.
That's it. I'll call you later. Thank you.
All right.
Call ended.
All right, it's 3:30, and as much as I would love to talk about other things, I think I'm going to take this opportunity to sign out because I've got some pressures going on in my life, things I got to do. So just looking at the headlines. I don't see much in the headlines that change anything. Okay, let me just look one more place. Okay, let's see. All right, this is from Martin Armstrong. The chip shortage has been at the top of my mind over the last week. After the launch of DeepSeek, a novel AI service intended to compete with ChatGPT. Semiconductor manufacturers have left the United States, and previous plans to attract domestic production have failed. Donald Trump has proposed a new idea to force production back to the United States through tariffs. The CHIPS and Science Act, launched under the Biden administration, injected $52 billion into American chip manufacturing. Intel was awarded $7.9 billion to boost factories in Ohio, Oregon, New Mexico, and Arizona. These incentives have not been sufficient to attract new chip manufacturers to the United States. The bulk of manufacturing still resides in Taiwan. So now Taiwan hopes to strengthen trade with the United States through these highly in-demand chips. But Trump wants to raise tariffs. So he wants the building of chips to happen here in the United States. Democracy is exactly what China does not want Taiwan to have. Russia means nothing to China. The one aspect that China has repeatedly warned the United States not to meddle in is the one China policy. President Xi believes he can reunify Taiwan with mainland China peacefully. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen has been deemed a terrorist of sorts by China. Former President Joe Biden was speaking about ensuring the protection of Taiwan at all costs. Trump has told Taiwan that it must raise its own defense budget. He's not very optimistic on this strategy. He writes about DeepSeek. It was only a matter of time before an innovative mind created the next mainstream AI tool to compete with ChatGPT. In a massive step toward AI advancement, Liang Wenfeng of China launched DeepSeek, an open source large language model intended to compete, if not one day, to overshadow ChatGPT. The launch immediately wiped out $1 trillion in US stock exchange market cap. ChatGPT is run by OpenAI. Its creation marked the dawn of a new way of interacting with the internet and assessing information. Users can ask AI to instantaneously perform actions, and this is reshaping the way the world operates. People have created businesses based on ChatGPT. There have been countless warnings of AI replacing human beings. Governments are still uncertain how to regulate these services and the data these LLMs pull from all users. Of course, countless services like ChatGPT have launched, but DeepSeek may be the next best alternative. Wenfang hired all the top minds graduating from Chinese universities and paid them top dollar to create DeepSeek for a fraction of what it took to create ChatGPT. OpenAI's GPT-4 launched in 2023, and it cost $100 million to develop. DeepSeek's RI began with $6 million. Semiconductor chips are shaping the new tech race. It takes semiconductor chips to operate these AI programs, and that has been an ongoing problem for American companies. Chinese companies do not have such problems. There is much speculation that ChatGPT did not require the estimated 10,000 GPUs and 3,500 NVIDIA servers. Nonetheless, DeepSeek is operating on less. Now DeepSeek has around 50,000 NVIDIA H100 chips, but they cannot speak about the matter because of US export controls. President Trump stated that DeepSeek is a reminder that American companies need to be, quote, laser focused on competing with China. Everyone is impressed at the low operating costs. Quote, instead of spending billions and billions, you'll spend less and you'll come up with hopefully the same solution, unquote, Trump said. Some US politicians are already calling for a ban. The chair of the House Select Committee on China, foremost among them. Hangzhou DeepSeek Artificial Intelligence Co. Limited, owned and funded by hedge fund High Flyer, has inserted $2 trillion into the US markets at the time of this writing. Critics claim that DeepSeek censors available information based on what the CCP will and will not permit. Sounds like the Democratic Party. Still, investors are extremely bullish on DeepSeek, which has already surpassed ChatGPT as the most downloaded AI program on the App Store. GTC display a proposed transaction with a video. There you go. There will be a video and a proposed transaction for GTII on Twitter. Go watch it. And maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe you'll find out that it's gonna not be a cram down. And I hope you're right. Wow, you're harsh on a stock I pushed and had people invest in. Well, that's your opinion. And you obviously didn't listen. So, yeah, I miss Lou. And maybe, Quentin, we should all say a prayer for Lou. He might appreciate it if he's up in limbo. I hope he's not. GBUX is not a regular stock, but an ETF. No? I mean, maybe there's an ETF with a similar symbol, but GBUX is called GBUX Inc. GIV, GiveBucks Inc. GIVBUX Inc. Trades on the OTC Pink current, $1.27. Is it historically unusual that gold has this type of strength when the dollar is strong? Trying to find the article I read to you the other day, and it looks like I don't have it here. But gold, where would it be? I can't remember where it is. But gold in all currencies last year had a good year, roughly up 30%. The dollar was the strongest currency last year. But I guess a couple of things. My opinion, you should be buying gold and silver, maybe platinum and palladium, but you should be measuring your wealth in terms of how many ounces of that you own. There's other assets too but you should be measuring your wealth, obviously in terms of your health, your family, your spiritual and physical well-being. But you should start trying to focus on your wealth, on your real assets, not dollars, not dollars. Now, under Trump, we might have 2 years, we might have 4 years, we might have 6 years where we can still go in and out of dollars and measure our wealth in dollars. But it's going to come to an end. Germany was the world's second strongest industrial power 100 years ago. And the mark I forget what the mark started out. I even think the mark was stronger than the dollar, but it fell in February of 23 to, it got better. I guess it rallied to 21,000 marks for $1 US. And then it hit 29,000 to $1 in April. A week later, it was 34,000 marks to $1. Next week, 42,000 marks to the dollar. At the end of May, it was 54,000 marks to $1. A month later, $1 could purchase 114,000 German marks. And it got worse. In July, in July, the dollar was exchangeable for 1,100,000 marks. A week later, on 7 August, a dollar was exchangeable for 3,300,000 marks. In the course of 16 weeks, the value of the mark collapsed by 1/130th of its already miserable value. It collapsed by 1/700,000th of its pre-World War I value. So what do you get? You get hyperinflation, you get a shortage of food. And then this guy, August Heinrich von der Och, a school teacher who became a farmer, wrote in his diary in October of 1922, prices have undergone a huge increase. Rye costs 14,000 marks, barley 9,000 marks, 100 weight of straw 2,000 marks. Bought a farm cart in Scheid for 125,000 marks. You have to pay 9,000 marks for a ham. In December, I bought a pair of boots for 8,000 marks. I bought a steer for 215,000 marks. The year 1923, January, bought a second cow for 400,000 marks. Salary for January, 310,000 marks. Sold a pig weighing 226 pounds at 1,300 marks per pound. Next week it'll be 1,500. February 23, the dollar stood at almost 50,000 marks. Rye cost 60,000 marks. Pork 3,000 marks per pound. I want to sell our cow. 1.25 million marks has been offered, but I want 1.5 million marks. A pound of unrationed bread costs 900 marks. Anyway, it's all out of context. But the point is, and I don't think the dollar is going to go down versus other currencies. If there were a currency to maintain its value, it's possible it could be the ruble, it's possible it could be the yuan, but I'm not sure Russia is immune to the decline of its ability to produce oil. I'm not sure. I have to study it. I'm not sure they can produce enough natural gas quickly enough. So I don't know. It's an open question. But I think what's most likely to happen to the dollar is the dollar will be strong like it is now. And then it'll cease to be. What would replace it? They'll have a meeting in Tashkent or in Vladivostok or in Hong Kong or in New Delhi or in Buenos Aires, a suburb of Buenos Aires. They'll meet for a month. It won't be in the United States. It won't be in North America. It won't be in Europe. And at the head of the table will be China, the United States, if we have gold. Probably at that head will be a representative of the Euro zone. But by that time, maybe Germany dropped out. They exited. So there might be a German representative as well. There'll be definitely an Iranian representative. It'll be the top gold holders. And India will be there. And the debate will be, how do we create a new worldwide system? There's a guy here that wants you to buy XRP, and he thinks that the world is going to shift from the SWIFT system to XRP. I think there's a lot of leaps in his logic. It might be, but I don't think the US banking system, well, they're all international banks. The British, the Swiss, the Chinese banks, the Russian banks, I don't think they're going to go to XRP. It might surprise me. But what's very likely with SEPE is they're going to create either a new location for the IMF and a new ratio for who gets to vote and control the IMF. They'll move the IMF out of America. American policymakers have proven to be feckless and to be liars. And we are in the middle of a giant feminist wave of irrationality. They'll move it out. So they're either going to change the worldwide system into a special drawing rights central world bank, special drawing rights. It won't be out of the Washington, D.C. My guess is by that time, China will be the world's largest economy, and the IMF may move to Hong Kong. It'll be called something else. Could it go to India? I suppose they speak English. Could it go to Abu Dhabi or Leningrad, St. Petersburg? Maybe. Could it just go to a completely neutral continent and be placed in Brasilia? Possibly. But I think the most likely is the IMF, the new IMF, and the new special drawing rights would be based somewhere in or around Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, or Hong Kong, or China mainland. So what would that translate to? That an SDR, the special drawing right, will be a basket of currencies, and gold will be part of it. And if you believe Jim Rickards, I think thinks the world will turn to the IMF here in the United States, but he's given different targets. But I think it's safe to say $27,000 for an ounce of gold in that new situation, maybe $40,000. So my point is, you could have a new Bretton Woods. It won't be called that. It might be called the Beijing duck. I don't know. Immediately you have an international payment transfer system based on a basket of currencies and gold, the dollar would be repriced at $27,000 or $40,000 it would take for an ounce of gold. The dollar would be devalued. Simultaneously, the world would recognize that the United States is no longer the premier economy. They would also recognize the United States is no longer the industrial engine of the world. They probably would recognize that the United States no longer is the premier military all by itself. It might be the biggest, but it could not stand alone against an alignment of Russia, China, India, Pakistan, and Nigeria. I don't know, making it up. So that's one way it could go. I think the other way it'll go is the world will move toward a gold standard. It won't be a mercantile fixed gold rate, but it'll just be exchange rates established. Ignore the IMF, ignore the UN, ignore everything, but it'll be exchange rates based with a heavy weighting of gold. I don't know, 20 to 50%. In that situation, you could see the dollar price, the gold priced at $100,000 an ounce. So the reason I was trying to read this to you is there's a point where gold, you're saying it has strength in dollars. I agree with you. If you bought gold at $250 an ounce, you've increased your wealth now that it's $2,500 an ounce. But at some point, the hyperinflation sets in, the disaster sets in, and it's no longer about creating wealth. This guy I just read to you was measuring his assets in marks. And the mark used to be one of the premier currencies in the world. But it was meaningless. To value his wealth in terms of marks, meaningless. Marks became worthless. People who valued their wealth in terms of marks lost everything. So if you insist I'm not talking about for 1 month. I'm talking over the next 6 years. Maybe less, maybe more. But if you insist on measuring your wealth in the dollar, you're going to get wiped out, in my opinion. So you have to buy real things and things that go up, things that go bump in the night. It doesn't look pretty ahead for the United States. There's a lot of parallels about the amount of debt we have. Oddly, I know you all hate him, but oddly, some of Trump's ideas could put us back on a footing to recover. But it's going to require a generation of hard work, not people on TikTok, not people hoping to make, $1,000 on a stock overnight. It's going to be good old, Vietnam hard work, China hard work, Japan hard work, Italian hard work, English hard work, everyone from the African continent hard work. It's going to take, and if I left anybody out, I don't mean to. It's going to have to go back to building wealth the hard way. But in the meantime, there's going to be a lot of speculation. And I think that speculation that happened in the Weimar Republic is happening now here. I don't know if he is setting a tariff of 10%. I'm unsettled by tariffs. I'm quite uncertain about the benefit of tariffs. But I studied as an economist, so it's just in my brain. Maybe tariffs work. Protectionism is what Trump looks out on the rest of the world. He sees China as protecting China's industries. He sees Europe doing that and other countries, and he's not wrong. So tariffs are a way of fighting back. Maybe a dumb question. No, there aren't any. There's a dumb guy answering them. Finger CEO said the audit completed mid-November. No, he never said that. He said he was hopeful it would be completed by mid-December, but he never put it in past tense. Maybe you didn't mean it that way, but he never said it was completed. As far as I know, the audit remains uncompleted. He did say that the company is trying to get the audit completed. They have a lot of things riding on it, but they raised money with Roth Capital, maybe at a lower price than they otherwise could have because of the dilatory nature of the auditing firm. But auditors are like lawyers. They take their sweet ass time. Now it's a month past that date, so audit could be taking longer. Yeah, I think that's a safe bet that the audit has taken longer. Any strategic reason that it could be done? That it could already be done, but they are not announcing it yet? No, I can't think of one. The lawyers might be writing up an announcement. The board would have to approve it. Lawyers take a long time, but if the audit is complete, I'm not sure the company is required to announce the completion of an audit, but they would have to file it with the SEC to stay current with their financials. They already reported third quarter earnings. So I would say the next time that the audit becomes almost de rigueur would be April 15th, which would be the typical date of their annual report and their fourth quarter earnings. But I can't think of a strategic reason to delay. I'm praying the news on Logic is going to be good. I've heard somebody texted me, if I can find it. I can't find it, but I think there's more than one person out there that thinks the news is going to be decent, and the prospects for Logic are going to be decent. But I've expressed to you my concerns. I didn't feel that way in December because I believed they'd get the deal done by the end of the year and more than one deal done. I think it's obvious they did not. I think that means they had to raise more money, which is dilution. And I think the CEO has fallen into a well-oiled trap. And I don't blame him because I think it was Aubrey Advisors and Chadron that set it up with the Data Logic spec. Wow, man. That's a lot. That's a lot of silver, 370 ounces. Congratulations. I believe, Steve, that physical silver, physical gold is moving to the east. We are stuck with John Maynard Keynes and investment advisors who don't really know anything. And so I think I've read the statistic to you, but the average investment advisor in the United States, wealth manager, they advised to their clients or the ownership of their assets is less than 0.5% in gold. That's not true in China. That's not true in India. That's not true where people actually have to work. So, the question is, will it always be that way? One billionaire could upend the silver market. The estimated market cap for silver this is a bad number. They have it at 1.7 trillion, but they're taking the price times all the silver ever to be mined. That's not a good measure. Gold's market cap, let's just go with these numbers. I don't buy it. Gold's market cap is 17.5 trillion in November. They say here silver is 1.7 trillion. I don't buy it. Well, let's go with it because I don't want to take the time to find a better number. Market cap What's the symbol for Bitcoin? BTC? No, I don't know what this symbol is. Oh, here, Bitcoin USD. The market cap for Bitcoin, if they have it here, I don't know if they do, is $2 trillion. So Bitcoin's worth more than silver. I think it's worth a lot more than silver. I think that's a bogus AI generated market cap for silver. But all right, let's look at NVIDIA. Market cap for NVIDIA. $3 trillion. Let's look at the market cap of Exxon. Half a trillion. You got to own Exxon. You got to own Exxon. You got to own Exxon. You got to own Chevron too. What's the market cap of Chevron? $250 billion. That's gonna change, but you don't believe me, that's all right. You don't have to worry about it. Let's look at Apple. Market cap of Apple. $3.5 trillion. So Apple's market cap is essentially double what I think's inflated the market cap of silver. It's not. I'll try to get a better number for the market cap of silver. Well, I think you got a good starting point. Do you know, if I'm right, you're going to be a millionaire. You're not wrong, Korean Yoon. I think the option markets is where they steal from you, but they do it legally. I mean, but Ripple Net for payments. All right, XRP is going to replace it. The SWIFT system is finished. XRP is going to take the place, and I don't know what I'm talking about. George Donohue's very good. George Donahue is very thorough. I voted for who? I never voted for Biden. You have plenty. You have plenty. I don't know the answer to that. I think as soon as traditional platforms allow Bitcoin trading, most of it will be counterfeit. It's not the spending, it's the debt, and it's crossing its confidence in our currency. It's not really the spending. In fact, to keep this whole thing going, they just need the debt to keep growing. There's a reason, I guess, in the Bible, the Old Testament, they said there should be a debt jubilee every 7 years. That's what the world needs. We've run out of new worlds to conquer. So it's not the spending. They won't be able to cut the spending. Let me just see if I can find quickly. Okay. Right there. Let me make sure you're seeing it. You are. I just picked this, so I don't know what it says. So here's our government spending. You say there's wasteful spending. Where do you see it? Where do you see the wasteful spending? Other? Everybody always sees wasteful spending under other. Transportation is 2%. Should we cut that? Natural resources and environment is 2%. Should we cut that? All right, let's cut those. So we've cut off 4% of spending. Education, training, let's cut that. So we've cut out now. We cut out other, transportation, natural resources, and training. We've cut out 9% of our spending. Veterans. Do you think we can cut that? I don't think so. Income security. What's that? I don't know. I doubt we can cut that. Medicare. You think that's going to pass, cutting that? Health. If anything, that probably is going to go up. National defense. Do you think that number is going to go down or up? Social Security, 21%. Do you think that number is going to go down or up? And then there's the big one, net interest. Net interest. So we're spending $7 trillion a year. I don't think it's the spending. We need to. I agree with you though on manufacturing and jobs. We got to stop wasting the money in terms of. Frankly, I think we can no longer be the world superpower. The banks won't like that, but I think we have to let go of our empire. All right, I'm going to sign out. I've got things I got to do. So anyway, peace to everybody. Let's pray for peace. Let's pray for Jenny Lefkowitz. Let's pray for Lou. Somebody brought him up. I think that's a good idea. And we'll see each other maybe late tomorrow, but maybe not. I have an eye procedure. All right, cheers.